I'm not keeping the beat very well. Alright, but we are in fact live, so let's get this party started. Okay, if I can find the right screen here. Quacha. Howdy, folks. Ah, where am I? Okay, there we are. Whew, I thought I vanished into non-existence there. Okay, but yeah, let's get started. We're gonna play more Necrobarista today, and we are going to finish this goddamn game up if it's the last thing we do, because I don't want to keep having a bunch of unfinished projects laying around, and I want to move on to the next game. It's probably going to be another visual novel. I've got a lot of those lined up, and some other cool games and whatnot and wherefore. I don't know if I'm going to keep playing Avowed. It's just too long. Anyway, this shouldn't be a depressing memory for any of us. Doodle mode is now available. You can now speak to Ashley to access doodle mode. Okay, but before all that, we're going to go read a bunch of bullshit. And by bullshit, I mean all this, like, sort of memories and whatnot. Keep the balance. You're overdue this week, said Ned. He tapped the list of rules that Maddie kept posted by the door. This 24-hour rule? Are you sure you've been enforcing it? I think I know... oh man, what was Maddie's accent? It was a little Australian. I think how we run things around here is none of your business, said Maddie. Actually, it is absolutely my business, said Ned, trying out a Russianish accent with him. In fact, keeping the rules is basically my only business. That's kind of what the word enforcer means. I'm supposed to scold you for breaking the rules. So audit me. Fine, said Ned. Let me check your ledger. We don't keep a ledger, said Maddie. Maybe you should, said Ned. Lots of places do. It's a great system. You have someone stand at the door and have them mark down whenever someone comes in or leaves. Then you forcibly evict people who are overstaying their welcome. I'm amazed that you don't have a system like that in place. Some people overstay their welcome, other people understay it, said Che. There's no need to strictly keep track of how long people stay, right? Just maintain the balance. You're right, said Ned. All that matters is maintaining the balance. So maintain the balance, because when you don't, then we have a problem. I'm gonna adjust my microphone just a smidge. We're a bit short-staffed to have someone acting as a full-time doorman, said Maddie. You gotta get her accent back. Figure it out, said Ned. He tapped the board listing the rules. Change 24 hours to 23 hours. When you say 24 hours, people think you just colloquially I can never say this goddamn word. Colloquially, much less an accent, colloquially mean one day, and they don't pay attention to the specific time. When you say 23 hours, people actually have to keep track of what time it is. That would be fine, said Che, except for the part where you're cutting time off people's stay. Trust me, said Ned. Anyone who would go right up to the limit is probably going to go over it. 23 hours is going to mean 23 hours plus an extra 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour plus however long it takes to finish their drink. Until even less than 24 hours? Who gives a shit? I give a shit, said Che. You're right, you should give a shit, said Ned. In fact, you should celebrate whenever you manage to scooch someone out of here in under 24 hours, because the balance is upset, and you've got to correct it. You can either correct the balance 1 hour at a time, or the council can come in here and repossess some souls. Or we can find someone who knows how to manage this property responsibly. He turned to Che. Come on, buddy. I don't want to have to take this place away from you. That would be quite the escalation, said Maddie. We're already in the first level of escalation, which is a stern talking to, said Ned. Let's try not to escalate it any further. Chase sighed. Maddie cut him off. We'll change the rule to 23 hours, okay? Buzz off. Well, really? Said Ned. Well, okay then. And while you're rewriting the signs, you should also take the green tea frappuccino off the menu. Frapp should be for coffee, not tea. Dan, said Mary. Wait, really? Said Ned. Damn, I didn't realize you were so open to feedback. Also that caramel. We'll take it under advisement, said Maddie, placing a hand on Ned's chest and physically pushing him towards the door. Hold up, said Ned. What are you doing? Removing an unwanted guest, said Maddie. I need the practice if we're going to start enforcing those rules you care so much about. Now said Ned as he continued backpedaling to stay upright. Look, you could just... Bye, said Maddie, as Ned crossed the threshold out of the cafe and Maddie shut the door in his face. She turned around, leaning her back against the door and sighed. Che raised an eyebrow. You're serious about the rule change? Yeah, said Maddie. Yeah, I'll change the sign in the menu after we close tonight. Wait, really? The rule change is just to keep him off our back, said Maddie. And the menu thing? Oh, I've always been meaning to take that off anyway, said Maddie. It's the kind of menu item that attracts the worst sort of people. Well, okay, said Che, though I do think we should change the rule back to 24 hours after things have had enough time to balance out. Of course, said Maddie. Wouldn't want to upset the balance too far in the opposite direction. What would we do with all that extra time anyway? Interesting. Oh, that's the end of it. Okay. I don't understand quite what this time debt is supposed to be, but I figure we'll find out as the game goes on. Let's find the next thing in Bob. Was it here? Yes, advisory roll. Ooh. Maddie was washing her hands when Ashley poked her head around the corner. Here to confess something or here to ask for something, thought Maddie. To herself as dried her hands. Okay. Thought Maddie to herself as she dried her hands and turned to face the girl. A little bit of a typo there. The grin on Ashley's face confirmed that it was the latter. Maddie arched an eyebrow and turned to the coffee grinder. Ashley stepped around the corner and stood close enough to Maddie to occupy her field of view. Every time Maddie turned, Ashley again repositioned herself. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love coffee. Okay. She was waiting for Maddie to notice her. After a minute, Maddie decided that having Ashley hovering around her was more distracting than indulging whatever it was she wanted to talk about. What do you need, Ashley? I don't need anything, said Ashley. Though now that you mention needing things, I think you might need something. Such as? An advisor. Ashley smiled triumphantly as she delivered the word. Aha. What do I need an advisor for? To advise you, of course, said Ashley. And I suppose you have a suggestion for who I should take on as an advisor? Well, now that you mention it, I'm not too busy. I could be your advisor. Because you're an expert on advising. That's what an advisor needs to know about. And what makes you an expert on advising? I've been learning a lot about advisors, said Ashley. They get to help make important decisions, and then the people they're advising have to take responsibility for them. That's why I'd make a good advisor. Because you don't want to take responsibility for your actions. I take responsibility for my advice, but if someone follows my advice, then that's their decision and their responsibility. Duh. This kid's smart. I don't think I need an advisor, said Maddie. Oh, but you do, said Ashley. Aren't you always complaining about how busy you are? Yes, said Maddie. So busy I don't have time to have extra counseling sessions with you. I'm not going to be your counselor, Maddie. I'm going to be your advisor. The difference being... a counselor counsels, an advisor advises. Of course, said Maddie. Busy people always seem to have advisors, said Ashley. The Prime Minister has advisors, presidents too. All the most important people have advisors. Their advisors tend to be more experienced than they are, said Maddie. Advice travels from those who have it to those who need it. Well, I'm doing fine and I don't need advising, said Ashley. But you could do with some advising, and I'd be happy to give you the advice I've got. Plus, you're more important than I am. You're kind of like the Prime Minister of the Terminal, or the President of the Terminal, or whatever. The kind of person who needs advisors. I see, said Maddie. So am I hired? You already have a lot on your plate, I'm sure, said Maddie. Nope, said Ashley. I've got lots of time free. Ah, in that case, you'll have time to wash these dishes for me, said Maddie, tossing a drying rag to Ashley. Let me know when you're done. Wait, said Ashley. I'm only free to advise. I'm physically fatigued from a long day of work. Only my mind has extra processing power. I can only help you if it's by advising. Excuse me, goodness gracious. But advising has physical responsibilities associated with it, right? Said Maddie. Like sometimes an advisor will go to places to get important information. I guess so, said Ashley. I can do anything that relates to giving you information. In that case, advises Ashley, I need you to give me a report on which of these plates looks best when it's sparkling clean. But they're all dirty right now. Exactly. Time for you to do some investigative research. See ya. God damn, she got her there. That was good. Okay. That was so good. I love that. Let me see. What's the next one? There's at least one more. I think there's two more. Two more. Yeah, I don't think there's any over here. Yeah, okay, two more, and then we get to the next chapter. This one is Delicate Operation. Itchy nose. Ashley stepped behind the counter and winced as the floor creaked under her feet. Maddie was nowhere to be seen, but Maddie did possess a remarkably sharp sense of hearing. Luckily, the cafe was empty as Ashley tiptoed to the case where Maddie kept the baked goods. Ashley lifted the glass lid off the case and closed her eyes as the scent of yesterday's lamingtons wafted up and overwhelmed her. Ashley had spent most of her life convinced that she didn't like coconuts, and that had changed the day Che introduced her to the lamingtons. Two lamingtons. To be fair, Ashley still wasn't sure she actually liked coconut. Chocolate frosting could make anything taste good, but she couldn't deny the cake's irresistible allure. Ashley lifted a lamington from the case and gently set the lid back down. She raised the lamington to her lips and opened her mouth to take a bite. Ashley? In a moment of panic, Ashley shoved the pastry into her mouth and sealed her lips. Her mouth was quickly overwhelmed by the pastry's thick frosting covering, and she did her best to choke it down before turning to face Maddie. Said Ashley, hoping that her cheeks didn't betray what was inside. Adjusting the mic just a little smidge more. Ah, good, you're here, said Maddie. It was a bad time Maddie expressed pleasure at seeing Ashley. Normally, Maddie wavered between being annoyed by Ashley's presence and being indifferently tolerant of her. Anytime Maddie was happy to see Ashley, it meant work. I need you to deliver something to Che for me, said Maddie, turning to the counter to pick up a small bottle of something. As Maddie turned her attention to the bottle, Ashley took advantage of her momentary distraction to gulp down the remainder of the pastry. No time to chew, but her teeth wouldn't have done much good with the thick frosting. You're not busy, are you? Said Maddie. Ashley shook her head for no. The pastry was no longer inside her mouth to create a conspicuous bulge at the cheeks, but opening her mouth would reveal the thick chocolate frosting that was still probably present on her teeth, so she kept her lips sealed. Good, said Maddie. He's upstairs. Get this to him ASAP. She handed the bottle to Ashley, and Ashley found herself surprised by how light the bottle was. Looking down, she could see that the bottle had thin walls. Within those thin walls, it contained some clear liquid, and its seal was held in place with a metal clamp hermetically sealed. Ashley turned towards the stairs, holding the neck of the bottle in one hand, and let out a sigh. One last thing. Ashley swallowed her sigh with a gulp and closed her mouth before facing Maddie, lips tightly shut. Be careful not to drop it, said Maddie. Thousands could die if you spill any of it. In any other situation, Ashley would have asked Maddie a probing question to figure out what was in the bottle, or get some idea of the significance of the task that had been assigned to her. Significant enough that thousands of lives held in the balance, but apparently not important enough for Maddie to do it herself. Sealed. The hell? Did I miss a line there? She merely nodded and turned around. Lemingtons were not meant to be consumed in a single bite, especially by mouths as small as Ashley's, and the thickness of the frosting that lingered in her mouth and throat made her desperate to ask for some kind of drink, but she dared not ask for one. Ashley looked down at the bottle, unsure of the best way to carry it. The bottle was slightly too large for her to hold in just one hand, and grasping it in the front of her with two hands felt awkward. The bottle wasn't heavy, but Ashley's confidence in her ability to carry the bottle without dropping it was less than perfect. Should she cradle it under her arm protectively? No, that seemed like it put her at greater risk of fumbling the bottle. The crook of her elbow wasn't as dexterous as her fingertips. She just settled for carrying the bottle with one hand placed under the bottom to hold the weight, and the other hand wrapped tightly around the neck to steady it. Ashley walked slowly with the bottle as she ascended the stairs. Maddie hadn't told her that the liquid was volatile, and the bottle was hermetically sealed, so there was zero chance of anything spilling out. That didn't change the sense of trepidation Ashley felt. Armed with the knowledge that there were potentially thousands of lives at stake, she cringed every time she saw the liquid sloshing inside the bottle, leaping up and lapping the edge of the seal. Ashley realized her arms were shaking and pressed the bottle against her chest, hoping to steady it. And as Ashley's hand shook nervously with the bottle held against her chest, she wondered if the large amount of sugar she had just forced down her throat had something to do with the shaking. It was more likely that her shaking was the result of being told that thousands of lives could be lost if she dropped the bottle. Still, the lingering taste of the pastry in her mouth didn't help. Ashley silently lamented the fact that she had been forced to consume the lamingtons so abruptly. Lamingtons were a treat to be savored, not shoved into one's mouth in a moment of panic. She hadn't even had the chance to properly enjoy it. It was hard to simultaneously feel the pleasure of a tasty treat and the panic of being caught. Whatever the outcome of this errand, she had wasted a wonderful pastry. Several agonizing minutes later, Ashley arrived at the top of the stairs and spotted Che standing at the handrail. As she walked up, Che turned to face her, and she presented him with the bottle. Ashley cleared her throat of any lingering stickiness before speaking. Maddie said you needed this. Ah, good, said Che. I was running low. Ashley gasped with relief as Che took the bottle from her and started taking deep, labored breaths, suddenly becoming aware of how high her heart rate was. Che popped open the seal on the bottle, then splashed some of it onto a rag. Several drops dripped onto the floor, and Ashley let out a terrified squeak. Something wrong? Said Che. Maddie said that thousands of lives could be destroyed by what's in that bottle. Well, that's the idea, said Che as he folded the rag and ran it along the railing that overlooked the cafe's ground level. This is supposed to kill 99.9% of all bacteria. That still leaves hundreds of bacteria alive, but I try not to think too hard about that part. Ashley's jaw dropped. It's disinfectant? Yeah, said Che. Why, did Maddie not tell you? Ashley's shoulders slumped in a mix of relief and exasperation. She only told me it could kill thousands. Oh, you know what? I should probably set up my phone to actually look at the stream manager, because I don't think I have the right program to... whatchamacallit. I don't have the right program running to where I can see Twitch chat on my screen. It's a terrible tragedy. I need to get like a second monitor or something, you know, like an actual streamer does, but you know. Okay. And howdy. I never know how to pronounce your name. We'll say Doling. Howdy, Doling. How is it going today? Okay. Alright, Ashley sold her son, blah blah blah. She only told me that it could kill thousands. And you didn't ask what she meant by that? No, said Ashley. I was preoccupied. Huh, said Che. He turned his attention back to the railing, inspecting it for a moment before continuing to wipe it. Ashley turned to head backstairs. Ashley turned to head back downstairs. By the way, Ashley turned to face Che. He reached out and placed a finger on her shirt, wiping off a bit of frosting. He raised it to his finger and smelled it. Chocolate? He said. Yes, said Ashley. One of Mandy's Lamingtons. Yes, said Ashley. Che nodded it and licked the frosting off his finger. Go downstairs and bring one up for me, too, will you? That's so good. I love that. That was so goofy. Alright, one last one, then we get back to the actual game. Billiards 1. Boom, 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 boom. Who the fuck is Brad? Brad took a sip from his beer. It was non-alcoholic, but there was something about the dry aftertaste that kept him frosty. He leaned over the table and lined up his next shot. He eyed the problematic 9 ball in the upper right corner. He had a low percentage shot on it. If he elected to bank it... Let me reread that. I don't know anything about pool. He had a low percentage shot on it if he elected to bank it in, but he had 2 other stripes in the lower left to set it up. 2 other stripes in the lower left to set it up? Okay. Pool terms, I guess. If he had an audience, he'd go for the bank shot for sure. He liked the chance to shine. But today there was no one to impress, no audience for flashy low percentage shots. He took the shots on the 11 and 12, and 3 shots later sunk the 9. An easy shot on the 8 sealed the deal. Brad scanned the table. 4 solid balls remained, a dismal performance on his part, or a stellar performance on the part of the Stripes player. That was the problem with playing against yourself. You always won, but you always lost too. Brad chugged the remainder of his beer and added it to his collection of empties, which now stood 5 bottles strong. Why would you just chug non-alcoholic beer after non-alcoholic beer? Shit's awful. Terrible. Okay. That's just me, though. I don't like the taste of alcohol. I just don't. I imagine non-alcoholic beer still tastes like beer, so, you know. He took a moment to survey the room. His table was the only one of the 4 that was in use. That didn't come as any surprise to him. It was early in the evening, and he had grown accustomed to spending time alone in this room. He knew when he could come here to be alone, and when the other sharks showed up. Brad grabbed the triangle. It was looped around his collection of beer bottles to set the balls in order for another round. Someone came up the stairs, and Brad looked up briefly, long enough to see a woman who he recognized as the dour-faced barkeep who had served him the beers that had kept him company for the past hour or 2. Several steps behind the woman, he saw an older-looking man. The man stopped in front of the table opposite Brad's and began chalking up his cue. Brad directed his attention to the man. He usually offered people a game when they came up, but the man seemed prepared to keep to himself, so Brad said nothing and tried to focus on his own table. He set up to break, and the older man coughed as he shot. He hit the cue ball just a fraction of a degree off. It bounced off the rack into one of the side pockets as the rest of the balls jostled around the table. Stink. What voice should we give this guy? Stink, said Brad. Brad didn't swear when playing pool. His earliest experience with the competitive billiards had been in an environment that forbade obscenities and issued foul penalties every time he let an involuntary shit or fuck. He'd had to find cleaner substitutes. Break, came the sound from the old man's table. 2, 3, 4. Brad put down his break cue and picked up the leather-tipped cue that was leaning against the table. 5, 6. Brad chalked his cue, trying to avoid the tilt from his bad break. 7, 8. He lined up to shoot, and realized that the man was already fishing his balls out of the pockets and collecting them in the triangle. Brad did a double take. Had the man sunk 8 balls after 8 strokes, including break? Brad continued playing his own table, but kept an eye on the older man this time. It happened again. Break. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A perfect clean sweep. As the old man began clearing the table, Brad walked over. "Excuse me," he said. "I couldn't help but notice you just hit 2 perfect games." "What's that?" The man turned to Brad, squinting at him. Brad repeated himself, a bit louder this time. "I was just complimenting you on 2 perfect games. Impressive stuff." The man heaved his shoulders. "Sometimes you get a bit of luck on your side." Still, you don't see novices hitting 2 consecutive perfect games. The man offered another ineffectual shrug. Do you, want to play a game? Oh, wait, no, this is Brad talking. Do you, want to play a game? Brad gestured to his own table, which was already set up. Most of the people who come around here tend to be novices. I've been itching for a bit of competition. Brad paused, but the man said nothing. Of course, if you prefer to play your own table, I don't mean to intrude. We can play, said the man, though if I can shoot perfect a third time, you won't get to. I'd be impressed if you could pull that off, said Brad. The older man racked the balls and stepped away from the table to let Brad break. Brad leaned over the table and took several practice strokes before finally connecting with the cue ball. The break was weaker than he had expected, but he managed to sink one ball. He looked at the table annoyed and realized that he hadn't bothered to check if the rack was frozen before he broke. His next shot was straight into the middle pocket. Ooh. He briefly visualized the trajectory of the cue ball in his mind. It would easily knock the 6 ball in, then bounce towards the front of the table. Brad wasn't confident of where exactly the ball would stop, but he was confident he'd be able to do something with it. He took the shot and the 6 ball went in. Solids. After the cue ball settled, he found himself with no good options. Brad smiled. Making something out of nothing was his specialty, and after a few moments of eyeing different angles, he settled on a shot towards one of the bottom pockets. The striped ball was in the way, so Brad hit the cue ball several degrees to the side, curving its trajectory around the enemy ball. It hit the solid 3 ball, and the shot was made. Brad looked at the man, hoping for some kind of reaction, but the man's mouth remained a flat line, but his eyebrows arched. If anything, the man's lack of obvious expression struck him as a deliberate attempt to not show a response. Interesting. More coffee, my throat's dry. This is the one downside to this model, by the way, is that it has these big old goofy wings. Let me see if it'll show up on the... Yeah, there we go. And they kind of clip because the screen's not big enough on this, so, yeah. Anyway. Not a show response. That he managed to get a slight rise out of the old man felt like sweet victory. Brad made his next shot quickly, an easy straight-in shot on the 2 ball, made without thinking about where the cue ball would land. That was a problem for future Brad, but several seconds later, present Brad found himself scolding past Brad for putting him in such a foul position. He was corner-hooked. With the cue ball trapped next to the corner pocket, the only angles available to Brad existed in a 60-degree arc. He surveyed his limited options and breathed a sigh of relief as a relatively straightforward bank shot presented itself. It was an awkward angle, but he knew he could coax the 3 ball into the opposite corner pocket. He took the shot, watching as the 3 ball rolled compliantly into its designated pocket. Unfortunately, the cue ball went with it, ending Brad's turn and placing the ball in the man's possession. Stink. Brad could have sworn the man winked at him as he fished the cue ball out and lined up a simple shot on a side pocket. The 9 went in. Then the 11 and the 12. Brad found himself taking it for granted that each striped ball would enter its designated pocket and instead focused on the cue ball. Somehow the cue ball always wound up in a position that presented the oldster with an ideal chip shot. Ball after ball fell off the bed until finally only the black 8 ball and Brad's solids remained. Fortunately for Brad, the 8 ball and the cue ball were at opposite sides of the table, with several Brads in between. The man eventually gave up and settled for a defensive shot that put the cue ball behind the 8. Now the tables were turned. Brad was the one cut off from his balls. Oh, God, I've got the sense of humor of a 12-year-old. He lived for shots like this. He took the shot. Cue ball hit the 8, and the 8 hit the 1, and the 1 hit the 7, bouncing it against the front of the table and into one of the side pockets. Damn, that sounds like a good shot. Brad couldn't help but smile. Things couldn't have gone better even if he'd planned them. Instinct and muscle memory did what his calculating mind couldn't. Now that the table was conveniently free of striped balls, Brad had no trouble sinking the remaining consecutive shots he needed to close out the game. As Brad lined up the final shot on the 8 ball, he studied the older guy. If the man was reacting, he couldn't tell. Brad closed his eyes as he completed the final stroke, as he always did. He wasn't really religious. He'd stopped going to church with his mom when he was 12. but it always felt right to leave the results of the game to God. Damn, said the old man. Actually, he doesn't have the expression. Damn, said the old man, as the 8-ball fell into its pocket. I feel like this is Che talking, so I'm gonna try and use his voice here. Brad flinched. He'd been hoping for some praise from the man for winning the game. Perhaps damn was all that the man was prepared to offer. Excuse me, said Brad, but I don't think we bothered to exchange names. I'm Brad. Thomas. Now, this is a different guy. Thomas, the old man extended a hand. I've got to say, you're quite a player. I take it you're not from around here. No, said the man. I grew up in Brisbane, retired in Sydney. It's a way too proper accent for this, I think, but whatever. I'm just passing through. Brad nodded. I figured. I actually grew up in this neighborhood. I played on tables just like these when I was a kid, so I know most of the folks on the local competitive circuit. I guess someone like you would have to play competitively, huh? You don't pick up skills like that in a tiny pond. You'd be surprised, said Thomas. A man can accomplish quite a bit when given enough idle time. Ooh, interesting. But you have played competitively, said Brad. I used to, yes, said Thomas. I actually formally retired many years ago, but kept a table at home for practice to keep my mind sharp. Where did you compete? Oh, I toured in England. Oh, great, you know, this Englishish accent works pretty good. Posh accent. Wait, said Brad. You were a pro? A pro makes a salary, said Thomas. I won enough to cover my travel expenses and to make up for the time I spent not working a real job. Brad couldn't hide his excitement. Wait, you said England? Did you ever play in the World Billiards Championship? Yep, said the old man. I played in the WBC for a few years, but eventually I decided the title was a summit I'd never reach. So I quit. Wait, said Brad again. You said your name was Thomas? Are you Thomas Walsh? Indeed I am, said Thomas. You're a legend. I think you might be overstating it, said Thomas. Even when I was at my prime, I wasn't the best. Results speak for themselves. Nah, fuck that, said Brad. You were a finalist for 6 years running. Nobody's ever been that consistent. Even the best pros who managed to run hot burn out after more than 2 or 3 years. Thomas sipped his beer. I've spent hundreds of hours watching your videos, said Brad. I didn't realize there were videos of me, said Thomas. I have tapes from the finals from 1967 and 1968, said Brad. They didn't record them before that, but your last 2 years got recorded for posterity. They're kind of rarities at this point, but I had a coach who had a vault of old footage. A coach? Thomas arched an eyebrow. Yeah, said Brad. You didn't have a coach? Thomas shook his head. We mostly just taught ourselves and each other. Sometimes you got to practice with people better than you, but that was it. Excuse me. Well, I mostly trained myself, said Brad. But after I started winning some regionals, I joined a team so that I could get sponsored and have a group to train with. Interesting. Brad waited for Thomas to question further, but no question came, so he decided to continue without an invitation. I won the WBC back in 2012. No luck since then, I take it, said Thomas. Well, yeah. He laughed, awkward. I've never been a consistent player. Not like you, anyway. He offered a sheepish grin. My mom had an album full of article clippings talking about me like I was some kind of prodigy. Next big thing. Now it feels like I'll forever be a footnote in history. Brad waited for the words of affirmation to come from his hero. Thomas just took another drink from his glass, finishing it off before setting it down next to Brad's empty bottles. Brad said Brad, feeling foolish. Can I get you a drink in exchange for another game? It would be a real pleasure. Sure, said Thomas. Get me a Guinness. Actually, make it 2. Brad sprinted down the stairs and returned several minutes later with a tray bearing 2 pints of Guinnesses. Thomas began setting up the table for the next game, Brad hovering over him. You know, this place is pretty magical. Getting to play games of pool like this. Wasn't quite sure how to say it, but figured Thomas knew what he was getting at. I mean, this is the sort of place where anything can happen, you know what I'm saying? Not anything, said Thomas. There are limits. Well, yeah, said Brad. But still, 2 former champs, one coming back from beyond the grave, so to speak. That's not the kind of encounter you'd expect to have anywhere else. Thomas looked at him. Magical indeed. When I walked up here, I didn't realize that you were, well, he rubbed his chin, Let's just say I don't meet a lot of pool pros at bars. He took a sip of his beer. You want a break? Sure. Brad broke and, with hands guided by instinct, managed to sink 5 balls consecutively. Like magic, his shots always connected. Some people might buckle under pressure, but Brad's performance always seemed to rise to the occasion. With just 2 striped balls left, Brad knew he was on a streak. But as he lined up his next shot, he took a moment to consider the position of the 8 ball. It was nestled in an awkward position behind Thomas's balls, but if he could clear a path to it while sinking the last stripe... Brad looked at the sea of balls and knew there was no way for him to mentally calculate every vector, but instinct had gotten him this far, and he wasn't about to stop listening to it now. Brad took the shot, and the cue ball knocked the last striped ball into the corner pocket. Then the cue ball bounced off the table back towards Thomas's cluster of balls. Brad grinned in elation as the cue ball hit a solid, which hit another in a chain reaction that sent the 8 ball heading right towards the corner, just like he'd wanted. It was headed right towards the corner, where there were no balls to intercept it. It was headed right towards the corner, into the pocket. He stopped grinning. Brad knew with a growing dread that the friction of the cloth wouldn't be enough to stop the ball in time. He watched the impending disaster happen in slow motion, powerless to stop it. The game had been going so well. He'd been about to hit a perfect game in front of his childhood hero, and now he was going to lose it in the most inglorious way imaginable. An accidental, illegal combination shot. Brad closed his eyes, but not even God could help him now. He didn't need to see it. The sound of the ball plunking into the pocket was enough. He'd lost the game. Ooh, rough. That's rough, buddy. Well, that's part 1, so I wonder what part 2 is going to look like. Okay, so let's see now. How do we get... there's no jump buttons. I don't know how we get, like, down... Oh! Okay. Cool. Oh, okay. We had to read all this bullshit before we could go back downstairs. Okay. What is doodle mode? Hello. Sure, what's doodle mode? In doodle mode, you can draw a face for each ashling. Whenever an ashling appears throughout the game, you'll be able to see your autistic masterpiece. Oh my god. Okay. This is so goofy. Okay. Let's see, okay, I've got to look up what, that little guy from Warframe looks like. The little miner guy. Let me see, Warframe... Warframe mining. Who is that little guy? Ba, 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 ba. Da, 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 da. Where's that guy? This from cutters. Widgets, ores, OTAC. OTAC. Oh my god, type, damn you. Okay. Alright, he's got like kind of little eyebrows and big creepy smile, so okay, we're gonna kind of do like one of these and then one of these slightly higher-ish and some kind of like... This is so fucking goofy, I love this so much. And then we got this big old crazy like horrifying grin. There we go, it's OTAC. Alright. That's so fucking goofy. Alright, we saved it, so let's go back. We'll exit doodle mode. That's so fucking stupid. I love that. Alright, this guy. Let's draw a face. We're gonna do, like... That's kind of goofy. Got a lot of free space still, so what should we do down here? Do like, you know, we can make this a big old crazy, like, mustache looking thing. No, it doesn't look right. Clear drawing. What if we gave him... He's a very like mild character. Let me see here. That looks very smug for some reason. I could do better, but you know what, we'll leave it there for now. Alright, Lovelace. He's a very anxious character, so we're gonna do like some crazy swirly eyes. We should... Let's clear the drawing. We're gonna do... That noise is so grating. There we go. That looks pretty funny. That's so fucking stupid. I love that. Okay. We'll quit. I think that's perfect. Oh my god, that's so good. I love that. Let's go back here to the stream. Okay. This shouldn't be a depressing memory for any of us. Yeah, doodle mode. Okay. Let's head back downstairs. And we'll activate the next chapter. I've got a little bit of time before I have to go. I've got a D&D game I'm going to try and join. Is there anything else down here? I don't think so, right? Probably not. Okay. Continue. Yes. I wonder how many chapters are in this game. I don't know the exact play time, but I don't imagine it's very long. Coffee. I could very well be wrong about that, but we will see. We will see. There's our guy, dude. Day 2, 12 p.m. The terminal. Rise and shine. Don't wanna. You shouldn't waste your last hours on Earth sleeping. Man, I was hoping that I was having a really long, weird dream. No, that's not quite his voice. Sorry, no such luck. Still having trouble getting my head around it. I totally understand. Want a coffee? Yeah, just something simple. Hipster coffee, coming right up. What's going on downstairs? I didn't even know you had a downstairs. There's more to this place than meets the eye. Maddie's down there, desperately trying to fix our debt situation. It sounds like she's hosting a cage match or something. Well, not exactly, but she's mentioned wanting to do that. There's some wrestler called the Red Comet that she wouldn't stop talking about for a while. Aha. And then because of that, Ashley got obsessed with wrestling for a bit and kept trying to suplex me. Did she manage to? She's tiny. A couple of times. Ha! It was very humiliating. I can imagine. But to properly answer your question, Maddie's running a gambling ring. Downstairs? All by herself. It's a fairly unconventional one. And by unconventional, you mean... mortals generally aren't involved. The stakes are higher than usual. Oh. Coffee's ready. Come over and get it. What is going on here? Interesting. They gamble for time, among other things. You don't sound like you're a huge fan of the idea. I'm not. It's undignified. I mean, as long as Maddie's not in danger, shouldn't it be fine? The council doesn't like it. They turn a blind eye because we don't cause trouble otherwise. But I'd rather not have to worry about bad things coming our way, because Maddie refuses to approach the problem from a different angle. And by the problem you mean the debt, yeah? I was pretty drunk, but I think I remember Maddie storming off after Ned turned up. Yes, I'm a bit worried about her. I wish I could help. You all seem pretty nice. The thought's appreciated. Maddie will figure it out eventually, though, I'm sure. She just needs time. Hey, thanks for the coffee, by the way. I just realized you haven't actually made me pay for a bunch of them. How'd you expect to pay for them? Oh, right. Yeah, no cash. What was his voice like? I keep forgetting what his voice was like, what voice I used. If I were feeling particularly capricious, I'd ask you to pay in time, but you're a nice kid. You need every minute you've got. What's going on with the camera angle? You want to head downstairs? I can see your eyes darting to the stairs. I'm not going down, but I'm also not going to stop you. Yeah, that's okay. Go on then, I'll stick around up here. Catch you in a bit. I swear to God, I slept decently last night, but I'm still yawning everywhere. The stairs that led down to the basement were solid and well-worn, with smooth ruts on each step, and a handrail that had been polished to a silky sheen through years of use. Kashan had always liked stairwells. People never lingered in them for long, and he'd found them to be a good place to catch a breather. He wasn't obsessed with them, that'd be weird, but he definitely appreciated a nice set of stairs. On further reflection, it was probably a little weird. Downstairs, Maddie's audience clamored for blood. From you to me, with the understanding that your remaining moments on this plane are limited, you surrender this time freely without coercion, as agreed. Contract fulfilled. You're free to go. Phew. Whew. That's 3 in a row, you bloodthirsty bastards. The crowd cheered. Maddie was clearly an expert at winding them up into a frenzy. Who's next? The room fell dead silent. Come on, is anyone here brave enough to challenge me? I thought you came here to play with knives, you pansies. Seriously, anyone? Don't hold out on me. Do I need to pick someone out from the crowd then? Is that what we've come to? Maddie's gaze swept the audience. Kashan, good to see you upright. Interested in a game of skill? Me? Yes, you. Oh, sure? Give me some enthusiasm, my man. Sure. What's the game? 5-finger fillet. Some of the people in here just call it the knife game. You heard of it? Oh, finally something I'm good at. Episode 3. Rise and Shine. Oh, this looks interesting. You've got a lot of knives in this place. Tell me about it. Ooh, slick. Damn, this thing has a good weight to it. Of course, I wouldn't make you compete with an inferior tool. Ha. What? What? I was waiting for you to seg into calling me an inferior tool. Shit. That was low-hanging fruit, wasn't it? Next time, mate. Sure. Sean did another experimental slash, and this time it made an audible whoosh. Spectators oohed and ahed. But this wasn't for them. He knew they only had one shot to get accustomed to the blade. You done showing off? Nothing wrong with putting on a little show. Sounds like you're stalling for time. Getting cold feet, perhaps? Psh, not a chance. Let's get started then. You know what you're wagering? Jay mentioned something about you gambling with time. It's not gambling if it's a game of skill. Well, that's beside the point. We're both wagering 4 hours. If you win, it comes from the cafe's balance. If I win, it comes from yours. You've got around 16 hours left, in case you aren't keeping track. Shit, only that many? Want a little extra time to play with, then? Hell yes. Let's stop wasting it and get this over with. You sure you know what you're getting into? Most people are pretty shy about playing with the time they have left, especially when their tank's running as empty as yours. Yep, come on. Unless you're getting cold feet. Hardly. You've got 30 seconds. Smack the timer when you're ready. Oh shit. The crowd cheered and Kashan fed off their enthusiasm. In response, Maddie leaned back and tapped her fingers on the table, feigning impatience. He met her eyes, grinned, and continued his performance. His stabbing motion got faster as he went, the point narrowly missing each of his fingers. Stabs, strong enough to drive the knife a millimeter or two into the table, were good if you wanted to put on a show. And of course, giving the spectators a show is part of the fun. You might be going fast enough to put on a show, but you're not You might be going fast enough to put on a show, but you're not going fast enough to win. How'd I do? 16 sets, if I counted correctly. Whoa. I couldn't do 16. That's how many Maddie beat me with. Is she gonna lose? Nah, she's gonna kick his ass. Feeling good about that result? Certainly am. Alrighty-o then. Watch closely. Oh, I will. 16. 1. 3. 7. 11. 15. Oh, she lost. Oh no, she won. Told ya, she's unbeatable. See, magic. She could cheat if she wanted to. Definitely not. She's just that good. Poor guy. Didn't know what he was getting into. Sorry, mate. You beat me fair and square. I'm pretty impressed. I aim to please. I'll be taking those hours now, if you don't mind. Yeah, sure. How does this work? Just like this. You won't feel a thing. Kashan felt a brief tightness in his chest, and for just a moment the tip of Maddie's finger burned white hot. Ow! Shit! Sorry, I lied. It's done now, though. Alright, does anyone else dare to compete with me? I'm all looking for some actual decent opposition here. I'll take any challenge, even if it's chance of something. Any challenge. I challenge you to get everyone a drink. A round's on me. I didn't realize you were watching. There wasn't anything happening upstairs and I got bored. Right. So, you took some hours from Kashan, huh? Yes, I did. Do you feel good about that? Chai, do you? I want him fair and square. He didn't know what he's getting into. There's an obvious power imbalance here that you're exploiting. He knew the rules. And that doesn't change anything. You led him to believe that he'd get some extra time. And? Barring a miracle on his part, that absolutely wasn't going to happen. Doesn't matter. He's just passing through. A couple of hours won't make any difference. Maddie, I'm disappointed in you. Our patrons respect us. We need to earn that respect by treating them with respect ourselves. This is not respectful or dignified. Cheating vulnerable passers through out of their time, we're above that. We're better than that. I don't care whether you think it's dishonest or not. I want you to give that poor man his time back. Don't pout, this is serious. I feel like a broken record saying this, but while I understand your intentions are good, you can't keep doing these things. It's all for you. If you really want to do this for me, find another way. This isn't worth it, Maddie. It breaks my heart to see you like this. I know you're trying your hardest, but this really, truly, is not worth sacrificing your own self-respect over. Everyone here respects you, but your gambling with ours just cheapens that. I'll give the hours back. Shame, I was pretty great with the knife. Still not as good as me. I was pretty close. My accent's all over the fucking place. Classic anime pose looking scene there. Rise and shine, you shouldn't waste your last hours on Earth sleeping. Got an achievement. Oh hell yeah, I was right. Lovelace. Yes. Yes. What form did you have before being reborn? I think I was a crab. Come on, I'm being serious. Ashley wouldn't harvest spirit liquid from a crab. You're assuming an awful lot about how squeamish she is. As far as I can remember, I lived above the streets next to the sky. So a bird then. Wings and feathers and such. No, not that. I do remember flying, though. Oh, were you a sugar glider? Describe? Did you eat insects and tree sap and flower nectar? That is familiar. Wonder how Ashley found you then? Could have been anything really. You mentioned bright lights earlier. Oof. Yeah, I'm thinking you got hit by a car. That seems likely. Is that bad? I mean, you're here now, so... Whether you like it or not. Shut up. I am still adjusting. These goofy fucking faces, man. Oh my god. Oh goodness. Look at you, turning into a responsible human being. Ooh. Studio mode not available. You can now speak to Kashan to access studio mode. The hell is studio mode? Interesting. Beth, 1. Wait. Okay, it is a man. Let's go. What voice should he have? This guy seems like an asshole. Let's go, little girl. Oh, that's kind of creepy. The man standing in front of Beth smirked. The knife he held seemed almost slight compared to his massive hands, but that didn't make it any less intimidating. Finish this one quick! Came a call from behind the knife holder. 3 men stood behind him, wearing expressions which ranged from amused to bored. Beth felt her palm getting sweaty, and loosened her grip on the knife in her right hand, sliding her thumb across the guard to reassure herself that its shape hadn't changed since the moment she'd picked it up. Take your friend's advice. Now, damn it, I don't want to do Australian for this one. Take your friend's advice. Take your friend's advice. Take your friend's advice. Damn it. What? We do Southern Belle. Take your friend's advice. Now, It's fine enough. We'll do it in a soft voice. Take your friend's advice, Beth said to the man who was menacing her. Finish this quick. After all, I'm just a little girl. Well, as little as any 15-year-old girl could be. Can do, said the man as he drew his knife up for an overhead swing. The man's movements suggested that he didn't know how to use a knife. Not really. He was swinging the knife like he'd swing a fist. Like he was trying to bludgeon her with it. Like he'd never really used a knife before. He was stupid. Mercifully stupid. She tried to reassure herself of that fact, trying not to lose her resolve. He lunged towards her as he brought the knife down, and Beth raised her arm. She felt the edge of the knife hit her skin, but the impact of the blow caused the man to lose his grip on the knife. An opening. Beth grabbed the attacker's knife arm and pulled him toward her, while thrusting her own knife toward him at chest level. She drove the knife into the man's chest with all the force she could muster, and he fell to the ground and gasped as Beth released her grip on him. The man lay on the ground and put a hand to his chest, moaning. Son of a bitch! You doing okay down there? Said Beth. The man sat up and patted his chest. I didn't expect... To lose to a girl? No, said the man. Well, that too, but I didn't expect it to hurt this much. These rubber practice knives are no joke, said Beth. If I'd stabbed any harder, I might have broken a rib. The man stood up. You got a name, girl. You can call me Beth, she said, extending a hand. He shook it with a look of hesitation. I'm Kyle. I've got to say, Beth, that was kind of a cheap trick. How do you mean? Said Beth. I mean the way you blocked my knife with your arm. It just bounced right off. You couldn't do that if we were really using real knives. He's right, said one of the spectators. Not really fair to fight with rubber knives. It's not really a fair fight with rubber knives. I'd like a rematch, said Kyle. Yeah, said one of the spectators. Rematch! The others began chanting along with him. Rematch! 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 A voice thundered from above. Who's saying this? I thought I told you guys to keep it down. Everyone spun around to face the stairs leading up to the ground floor. Maddie was leaning over the railing of the staircase with a stern look on her face. She tapped a poster on the wall. Beth took a moment to glance at the sign. Fight Club rules. 1. Don't quote Tyler Durden. Nice. Seriously, no Tyler Durden quotes. Always assume your opponent is mortal. Practice weapons only. Be considerate to other guests. Keep noise to a reasonable level. We don't have many rules here, said Maddie. Please don't make me kick you out of the basement. Everyone else in the room cast their gaze downward, looking ashamed, with several mumbled apologies. Maddie nodded and climbed back up the stairs, content that she had made her points. Seriously, though, said Kyle, not really a fair fight without using real knives. Beth walked over to the edge of the room and lifted a mug, revealing 2 steak knives. Several whispers erupted from the small crowd. Where'd you get these? Asked Kyle. I swiped them from upstairs, said Beth. They're not exactly combat gear, but these blades are fit to cut through flesh, whether it's cooked steak or a human arm. Beth held one of the steak knives by the blade, presenting its handle to Kyle. We've already broken one rule tonight. How about breaking another one? I won't get hurt, said Kyle. I mean, I can still feel pain, but, you know, I'm not afraid of getting stabbed. We were having more of a hoity-toity voice. I mean, I can still feel pain, but, you know, I'm not afraid of getting stabbed. Neither am I, said Beth. But don't say you're ready for this if you're not ready to bleed. She turned the knife over in her hands, pressing her thumb against the tip, just enough to draw a single drop of blood. Kyle grinned. Do I look like I would be here if I was afraid to die? Interesting. Okay. Let's see what else there's to read. Wandering Spirits. What's this? Kashan's footsteps echoed in a way that startled him. Were his footsteps always so loud? Perhaps it was just the contrast with the surrounding environment, which seemed completely silent. which seemed to be completely silent. Oh man, the typos and missing words here. That made his footfalls seem so jarringly loud as he walked across the catwalk. He was on a catwalk. Why was he on a catwalk? There seemed to be a gaping space below him, filled with some sort of mist that he couldn't see through. It was fog-like, yet despite the fog that lapped at his feet, the air felt so dry. The air was thick here. As he breathed heavily, Kashan felt an overwhelming, sweet, sticky odor, like the smell of wet or rotting wood, but all he could see around him were steel beams and a concrete path in front of him. Was it rust he was smelling? No, he knew the smell of rust. This was different. The smell was somehow organic, like the smell of a forest after a fresh rainfall. Kashan shivered. Far in the distance he could see what looked like a building of some sort, so far away that it made the structure he was inside feel almost tunnel-like, as if its only purpose was to convey him to that distant building. He continued walking forward, but as he walked, the building seemed to be growing more and more distant. He quickened his pace, and as he walked faster, he could feel himself moving through the thick, stifling air. Yet as he looked down, he could see the texture of the catwalk in front of him unchanged, as though he were walking in place. Kashan started to turn backwards, but saw only a blinding light. His eyes immediately shut, and when he opened them, he was facing into the tunnel, with the distant building at the center of his field of view. He tried turning around, but every time he tried to turn his head, his eyes involuntarily shut at the sight of the light, and he was forced to close his eyes or look away, always confronted again with the sight of the small hut when he opened his eyes. His heart pounded violently inside of his chest. The tunnel was so quiet that he could hear his own heartbeat, feel his own pulse inside of his head. Something about this place felt deeply, incredibly wrong. Get back. Get back. I have to get back. This is his voice. Okay, he's thinking this. He tried running again, but this time found himself unable to even begin rotating his body before his eyes snapped shut, placing him again in a world of darkness until he opened them again and was confronted with the sight of the small hut in the distance, now looking more far away than ever, now looking further away than ever. I have to get back. Kashan kept facing the building and took a step backwards. As he placed his foot on the ground, he felt a gust of wind knock him forward. He let out a yelp of terror. Instinctively, his hands reached for the opposite edges of the catwalk as he fell, trying to steady himself for fear of falling off. The catwalk was wide enough that his body didn't land close enough to the edge for that to have been a risk, and yet as he looked towards the edge, he felt a growing sense of dread that there was something down there that would capture him if he allowed it to catch even the smallest hold on him. Almost as he thought it, he felt the sensation of something pressing against his legs. He stumbled to his feet. He ran forward. The hut ahead of him seemed to grow no closer as he ran, but he ran all the same, running not to reach a destination, but to be away from whatever it was that was behind him. Moments ago, his only thought was an overwhelming desire to turn back, a worry that he was somehow trapped in here, but now that worry was replaced with an overwhelming sense of dread that propelled him forward. He had been pushed forward by something. Something was behind him. Kashan leaned forward and ran. He was no runner. He often found himself winded when forced to climb more than one flight of stairs, and yet he ran and felt no sense of tiredness holding him back, no need to catch his breath. Maybe it was the thick air that somehow never allowed him to run out of breath. Maybe it was the fear of whatever was behind him was that strong. Kashan felt the air stinging at his eyes as he ran. By now he was running so fast that the thick air felt like hot wind on his face. Tears began running down his face, but he couldn't find it in him to raise a hand to wipe his eyes. That would mean slowing his sprint. So he closed his eyes, fully aware that he was running down a catwalk that had no handrail on either side. At this point he didn't care. He ran and ran. Long after the tears on his face had dried, Kashan realized that he could hear only the sound of his own feet as they struck the catwalk. He couldn't even hear the rush of wind, even as it seemed to buffet his face. There was no sounds of anyone or anything pursuing him. Perhaps there was no pursuer at all. He allowed himself to open his eyes and look down. He looked over his shoulder. This time there was no blinding light, only a distant glow, like the light at the end of a long tunnel. In a way, it was the light at the end of a long tunnel, and in observing the dim glow of the distant light, Kashan suddenly realized just how far he had run. He turned around and saw the building right in front of him. It had windows that were covered with the same fog that covered the ground around him. Kashan reached for the door handle. He half expected it to be locked, and felt a moment of panic as the handle bowed under the pressure of his hand. Was he ready to face whatever was on the other side of that door? Did he even want to enter? Did he have a choice? What was it that awaited him inside of this building? Answers or more baffling questions? Kashan looked down the tunnel and suddenly felt cold. Whatever this place was, he needed to escape it, and the only form of egress that seemed available to him was the door of this building. He leaned on the handle and felt the door swing open. I wonder if that was his arrival at the coffee place. Okay, so I think I'm going to take a little break and get some more coffee, so I will be back very shortly. And we're back. Okay, where were we? Where were we? Let's use complete sentences. Cellar, staff only. Okay, I can't go there. Is there anything else in this creepy place? Let's go down these hallways. Oh, there's an Ashling. Or, wait, Ashley's journal too? Yeah, okay. That's Lovelace. Row Battle Royale Robots Power Rankings. Alpha Charlie Echo. All of the commenters call this bot Ace, probably because it's so good. It seems biased for them to call one particular robot Ace, but it's obvious how it got its name when it wins all of the time. At first, it looks like this bot doesn't have a weapon, and it's just designed to be really fast and agile. Then you realize that its entire body is a weapon for ramming into unsuspecting people. This would be a great tactic if you got into a fight when you didn't have a weapon. You don't need a flamethrower or a buzzsaw if you just have a 150 kilogram body and can ram into people really fast. No fucking kidding, holy shit. Coffee. This probably wouldn't work very well for me because I don't weigh 150 kilograms and I'm pretty small. But that isn't a problem since I usually carry things that can be used as weapons. Like I could carry a crowbar, and then if someone tried to attack me, I could just take the L end and jam the crowbar under their feet and then pull it up and use it to knock them off their balance, even though I'm probably smaller than most people. I'm not sure why it's named Alpha Charlie Echo. I assumed it was a remake or made in the style of a bot called Alpha Charlie, but there aren't any other bots by that name, and the team that made it are all rookies. Also, none of them are named Charlie. Maybe it's named after someone's dad or brother? Their next robot will probably be called Beta Charlie Echo, or maybe Alpha V2 Charlie Echo, or Final 2 Charlie Echo. That's so funny. I'm glad that one was short because holy shit, I'm already losing my voice. I need to drink actual water sometime, you know. Horrific as that idea is. Nothing down these hallways, it seems. So let's... Is that it? Is that just those two? That one, one back there. Might be it. Okay, and then we can't go into the staff-only place, so let's go back up to the terminal. And if we've gotten everything done right, then we should just be able to go back in, right? Yes. Okay. Oop, let's turn off our alarm here. We don't need that on. Okay. There's Maddie again. There's Ashley. We already looked at these ones. It said we could talk to Kashan, but where is he? Is he upstairs? Oh, here he is. Why are you looking so, like, weird, Kashan? Look kind of like... We crouch. Look kind of... Oh, that's not a good angle. Yeah, you look a little, like, weird looking. What's studio mode? I want to see what studio mode is. It's definitely a kind of sinister expression he had. I don't know. Doesn't fit him. Hold on a minute. Are we frozen? Hello? Let me close out of this and then we'll try it again. Nope, not that one. Okay, cool. It was just frozen on my end because my alarm went off. Okay, cool. Oh, okay, you can kind of like do scenes and whatnot. Interesting. I don't think we need to do that. This is kind of... It's interesting, but I don't think this is, like, worth our time necessarily. How do we exit? It's interesting that there's, like, an in-game editor to make, like, screenshots or animations or something. Ugh. I swear I'm a morning person. Look at you turning into a responsible human being. Ugh. Good God. Excuse me. I'm just full of strange and unpleasant sounds. Okay. Let's go and continue to the next thingamabob. What are you so happy about? Man, that's so cool looking. Barkashan. Day 2, 5 p.m. Outside the terminal. You're right. You're right. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be, you are right. Yeah, I guess. Cool. Mind if I join you? Go for it. Dory? Hmm? You want a Dory? I'm sorry, Dory. Coffin nail. Cigarette. Do you want a smoke or nah? Oh, right, of course. Yeah, sure. Sorry, it's been a weird day. I guess that's Australian slang? I know they're all supposed to be Australian, so I forgive the weird accents I'm giving them all, so... Thanks. No worries. Where are you from, then? Huh. You're the first to ask. I live in Collingwood. Oh, yeah? Whereabouts? Smith Street. Bit pricey up there these days, isn't it? Bet you like your avo toast. Ha! Piss off. I've got housemates. Well, nah, I know what you mean. A bit odd, being dead and all that. Takes some getting used to. People keep saying that, but it doesn't make me feel any better. I understand. Do you? I reckon as much as anyone can, yeah. Right. Hey, what's avo toast actually taste like? Oh wait, maybe this is hey, what's avo toast actually taste like? Huh? I've never had it. Can't you just go out and eat some? I'm sure Maddie could whip it up if you asked. Avocados are a highly malevolent fruit. Don't trust them one bit. Plus I've got this whole... situation. Oh, so that's what the straw... Oh, so that's what the straw was for. You got it. So what does it taste like? I don't know, like avocado and toasted bread. Avocado is kind of cold and mushy, but it's got a good taste. Like peas. Definitely better than mushy peas. Love me a bowl of peas, mate. What, because they're the only thing you can eat through a straw? Watch yourself. Gonna zap me with your death council powers? First off, it's the Council of Death, not the Death Council. They're totally different things. Secondly, you really think that's what we do? Walk around shooting lightning out of our fingers? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds a bit silly, yeah. We don't do anything like that. We just keep things running smoothly, is all. Harassing cafe owners to settle their time debt isn't something we like to do often. So you just keep the peace? As fucking ironic as that sounds, yeah. Ned keeps the peace. Dude. I know. Want another? Sure. Ned's a total bro. Coffee. I love this crazy, like, factory-looking thing. Who's talking? Oh god, I don't know who's talking. We'll assume it's Kashan. Or maybe it's Ned. Or maybe it's... Maddie? I love the sunrises here. They're alright. You watch many sunrises, Ned? Not enough, no. Even semi-immortals need their sleep. I just like to sit here and watch it. Even when it's cloudy or raining, there's just something about watching the sunrise that makes it easier to deal with the coming day. Feeling optimistic all of a sudden? No, I still feel... Oh wait, this is Kashan talking for sure. No, I still feel like shit. Ha. No wait, maybe that was her talking. No, I still feel like shit. How about you, Kashan? Why is he green? Kashan? I don't feel great. I'm still having a lot of trouble, You guys, I'm dead, and I've only got a couple hours left before I have to go, and I don't think anyone here really properly understands what it's like to see your last sunrise ever without any idea of what comes next, and that is really fucking terrifying. And I'm never going to see my friends, or my boyfriend, or my family again. I'm just going to pass on, and I'll never know how they'll remember me, or mourn me, or if I'm even going to be remembered as a good dude who tried his best, or if I'll just be forgotten in a year. But that good dude who tried his best couldn't even win a friggin' game of five-finger fillet in the basement of a cafe that basically sits on the banks of the sticks, as far as I can tell. And God, I can't even tell if that matters. Were the stakes low? High? I can't tell. I'm so disoriented that I'm trying so desperately to feel something, but all I feel is that I'm slipping away with every second. I'm losing myself by degrees, and that's incredibly scary, and I don't know how to deal with it. Whoa, dude, what the fuck? Yeah, fair cop. I actually came out to apologize for that. The game. Oh, for God's sake, Maddie, have you been gambling again? Can it, Ned? Kashan, I shouldn't have taken that time from you. You took it fair and square. Well, I don't feel like I did, so I'm giving it back. Believe me, I'm as surprised as you are. I don't usually do this. What's different this time? It's my business. I can't believe you're still swindling people out of hours to try and fix your debt. Dude, I know. It's bloody undignified. And it's a clear violation of the rules. I will banish you right now, my man. I thought you'd stop pulling that crap once you took... I thought you'd stop pulling that crap once you took ownership of the cafe from Che. You really think doing this is going to help you pay this debt? Yes, absolutely. And if you've got any bright ideas on how to do it otherwise, I'm all ears. We should have never granted you and Shade those licenses to practice. You've obviously failed to be responsible with them. You really think we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't have licenses, businessman? Bushman? You really think we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't have licenses, Bushman? Given your history, the hypocrisy on display here is astounding. Well, that's all behind me, and you know it. I've been working on doing some good for the last 100 years. With the council? Really? Yes, we maintain the balance. You know why that's important. Ned, I wonder if this is some historical, like, Australian guy. I keep thinking it's probably, like, the dude who, like, took a bunch of boilerplates and, like, made armor out of them to, like, I don't know. Like, he was, like, a fugitive or something. I forget. I wonder if this is that guy. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway, yes, we maintain the balance. You know why that's important. Sure I do. You don't need moral... But I don't need you moralizing at me from your ivory tower. Give it a rest, Give it a rest, guys. But... I'm pulling the last turn Earth card. Quit it. I'll be inside. Come find me when you want those hours back, Kashan. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about all of this. Well, I've never been to the other side. I was too afraid to leave. Walked the land for decades, evading the council. It's a crime they call reverency, staying too long, upsetting the balance. But in lieu of booting me straight to the next place or some sort of eternal punishment, the council offered me a job. Sorry, that's all stuff you don't care about, I suppose. It's interesting enough. Nah, I'm just filling up empty air. We should head back inside and grab those hours back. Truth be told, I'm not feeling especially fond of Maddie right now. Well, she might have been dishonest with you, but even I can tell she's at the end of her rope. And you might not be able to see it yet, but I think the people in there are fond of you. You think so? Maddie wouldn't have offered the hours back if there wasn't something different about you. Plus that kid Ashley seems to like you, yeah? I guess. She kinda just dragged me off and got me to hold screwdrivers for her. Trust me, she thinks you're great. Go on inside and say hi. I've got some business to go stick my nose into anyway. Alright, catch you in a bit. I've got some questions about the council. Of course, I won't be out for long. Later, mate. Hey. Yo. Do you want those hours back? I guess so. It's only 4 hours, I don't think it'll make much difference. If it's okay, I'd prefer that you have them. Ashley's been enjoying having you around. Just Ashley? And me too, I guess. You seem pretty reluctant to admit that, my dude. Don't psychoanalyze me. Sit still for a minute. Alright, lay your hand on mine and... Alright, lay your hand on mine and place your index finger on my wrist. This part of your ritual, or is this just an excuse to hold hands? Shut up. Thanks. Watch carefully, and no matter what you do, don't move your hand. There's usually a binding spell I use to make sure that doesn't happen, but I've ran out of the reagents required, and you probably don't care about all that. True. Alright, yep. I give this time freely and without coercion. As above, so below. I maintain the balance. Ow! I maintain the balance. That's it. How do you feel? I actually feel better. I feel less itchy. Yeah, we weren't kidding about that yesterday. As you linger, you begin to upset the balance, and as far as I understand, it doesn't feel good. Right, yeah. Why does Ned get to stick around then? Does he just ignore it? Council are a special case. They're more similar to demigods, or demons than they are to us. My horrible Australian accent is failing me. That's fascinating. Tell me about it. I'd have joined ages ago, but they're uptight dicks. They don't seem so bad to me. That's because you've not run into any of their ridiculous rules. Bunch of bloody regulations on manipulating life force and setting standards on the treatment of spirits. Is that why you gave me the hours back? Because Ned realized you broke the rules? No, that was all within the guidelines, despite his blustering. I gave him back because I felt bad, that's all. Oh neat, so you pity me. I love that. I'm actually really into it. No, dude, it's not like that at all. Nah, you don't need to clarify, I get it. Seriously. Last day on Earth. Moving on. Fine, sure, I'm sorry. Sorry, I've got to serve this customer. I'll help. Really? It's probably not a two-person job. Yep, come on. This place does look really cozy. Day 2, 6 p.m., the terminal. Whew. Anything else that needs doing? Nah, I'm gonna take this tray of glasses into the kitchen. You can go chill for a bit. I'll take them back. I'll take them. You need a break. Sure. Where's the kitchen? That way. You'll find it eventually. Cool. Be back in a minute. Alright, there's some wandering hallway here, isn't there? Your pawns are nothing compared to the raw power of my castles. Nothing. Yeah? What's this then? Ah! My castle! Brought low by my own hubris. No, it was just a pawn. And maybe a little bit of hubris. Bishop? Knight. Ah! Your other castle and check. Check, you say? Oh, I didn't think of that. You activated my trap card. Oh, hey, Maddie, come check this out. I tricked him into a false sense of security. Oh man, that's embarrassing. You seriously let her outmaneuver you that hard? Yes, I'm very ashamed. I suppose the real hubris was inside me all along. But was that too deep? Was that Kashan's voice? We'll figure it out. I freaking love winning. I should try doing this more often. A chance win at chess? Could grow into a big winning streak, you know? You want to play something with us? I should really head back down to the bar. There's nobody there. Come on, take a load off. If anyone really needs you, they'll know where to find you. I'm gonna grab a solid drink, make sure there's nobody waiting down there, and then we play something. Won't be 5 minutes. Oh, excuse me. You actually gonna come back this time? You never come back. I'll come back. Promise. Why don't you pick out a game while I'm gone? Let's find something, Ashley. What do you feel like playing today? Something with lots of dice. Dice it is. We'll see you in a minute, Maddie. Day 2, 6:15 p.m. Ashley's workshop. Ooh, cool aquarium, I think. Looks corally. Too much water effect, though. Is that a little mini Ned there? Oh my god. Yeah, it's a little Che and a little Lovelace and a little Ned. That's so adorable. And that's why the 4th season of Row Battle Royale was an absolute betrayal. But you still want to be on it one day. Well, yeah. Unless the indie circuit opens up. Like in wrestling? Exactly like in wrestling. Melbourne's got a local show. I want something like that. You could probably put your own local league together if you worked really hard. Perhaps you could build the robots and get people to battle them. Human control bots are boring though. I want to get more of that spirit juice and put together a bigger Ashling. How big? I think I'll start at car size and move on to a more bus-adjacent form factor. I'm not sure we have enough to power one of those. You'd have to get Maddie to source you a large amount of it. We need liters of it at least.
That'd be super cool. Didn't you just say it was illegal, though?
Well, technically. But what Ned doesn't know won't hurt him.
He'd lose his head if we knew half the things... Is that Maddie talking? He'd lose his head if he knew half the things we were doing around here.
What? Oh, wait. No, that was Che. He'd lose his head if he knew half the things we... Yeah. He'd lose his head if he knew half of the things we were doing around here.
No, he seems fairly lenient with you, right?
He wasn't always like that. A long time before you turned up, he nearly shut me down because I... Would you believe it's because I sheltered a criminal?
Ned nearly shut you down because of that. Am I thinking of the same criminal you are?
And trust me, the irony was apparent. I found it very, very funny.
What sort of criminal were they?
Just a minor demon on the run. I don't know what she did to get a price on her head. I just took her in when she stumbled through the door, dripping blood everywhere.
That's metal.
Metal. It was extremely metal.
How long did you manage to hide her for?
Oh, not too long. Maybe 6 weeks. The time flew by, if I'm being honest.
Why is that? Was she from the clock realm?
No, nothing like that. We, bonded. Oh my god.
Magically? How'd you do that? I thought I heard you telling Maddie that sort of thing was impossible between beings on this plane.
Maddie is losing her shit right now. No, not magically. We were... lovers.
Ew. Yuck. Ew.
Happier days.
I love hearing about when you were young and reckless.
Gosh, what do you think I am now, huh? Old and boring?
Definitely old. Despite myself, I must say you're definitely not boring.
There's that patented Maddie charm.
You know me. I'm full of them.
Oh yeah. Charms. Hexes. Curses.
That's all on your account, old man.
I won't deny it. Hey, Maddie.
Hey, dude. Having trouble finding the kitchen.
Yeah, I couldn't... I checked everywhere.
It's just behind the bar, man. You can't miss it.
I told you I checked everywhere.
Nah, you're not catching my drift. It's just behind the bar. You can't miss it. Have another look. It'll be there this time. Sometimes you gotta remind the quantum hallways that they exist.
Fine. How long are we gonna keep him here, Maddie?
Ooh, we're keeping him? No, we're not keeping him. I'm gonna let him stay as long as he wants. He'll leave it on his own accord at some point.
You feel sorry for him?
Weirdly, yes. I don't usually get attached to customers, but he's a good dude. I like him.
Do you like him because he's nice, or because he was good at passing your tools over?
Yes. Don't get too attached. He's not going to be here forever. Well, duh, I know how it works. I'm going to enjoy having him around just like you taught me. Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. Ashley, that's from the motivational calendar I threw out last week. I never said that. Same thing. Same. I'm used to people moving on, is the point. I can deal with it.
That's so sad.
Good.
Day 2, 6:30 p.m. The terminal. Oh, excuse me. Oh, is it on autoplay now? Must be. There's Ned sitting at the book bar. What the hell, Maddie?
Fuck! Fuck. Heh.
You're going to keep staring at the coffee stain or nah? Yes. Okay, whatever. What do you want from this conversation? I'm an open book as far as matters of life and death are concerned. Yeah, I don't want to go. I know you've probably heard this from, I don't know, 1,000 people or whatever. It's not about staying around for people or wanting to go back to my old life. As wonderful and not stressful as that sounds, like, I'm not afraid of what lies on the other side. I don't think there's any point to worrying about it until I'm there. I just don't think I've spent enough time here. I need to keep his voice consistent. The cafe. No, all of this. I guess you'd call it this plane? Roughly speaking, I suppose so. I want to know what you did to be able to stay. Sure. Did Maddie give you those hours back? Yeah, why? Well, that's a way. You can just find enough hours to stay as a spirit, half here, half gone. But it's a wretched existence. I wouldn't want to live like that. How'd you find the hours, though? There's only so many you can get from consenting beings, right? The crappy psychology of gambling aside, you're right, yes. So the question is, how do you do that? How do you create life from nothing? The answer is that you can't, Kashan. It's impossible. There's always got to be some sort of balance maintained. Everyone who learns to manipulate the fundamental life forces understands that. No matter whether they're doing good or bad things with their skills. Here's the thing though. We don't need both parties to agree. It's just a social nicety, something that separates us from, well, people who don't do that. That's where the idea of vampires came from, for example. Those bastards. They're not special or anything, they're just dickheads. Anyway, if you can take life force from people, you can also drain it from animals or plants. That was such a weird accent there. But in this business, there's a lot we don't or can't understand. One of the things we can't understand is why life force from animals and plants is tainted. It feels gross. If it didn't, everyone would take it, consequences be damned. How were you feeling today, before Maddie took the hours back? I felt like I was slipping away. Like my mind was really foggy. It was really hard to think or put sentences together. Never really noticed though. Typical. Imagine it, but 10 times worse. You're foggy, but there's also something fundamentally wrong. Like you're a collection of puzzle pieces that don't quite fit together. Like an engine that's running out of oil. That sounds horrifying. That sounds horrifying, right? So, should I do it? Yeah, probably not. How would I stay otherwise? Well, you could always go on the lam, just run for it. But you'd catch me. Not me personally, but yes, the council would, eventually. And that's it? That's my only option. Perhaps. Depends on how you feel about bonding your soul for eternity to a fundamentally neutral arbiter of justice. I have no strong feelings about it one way or the other. Smartass. Would you regret it if you stayed here forever instead of moving on? I don't know, I guess that'd be up to me, right? How do you mean? In the end, how I feel about taking a big branch of my life is just a matter of how I frame it. I can focus on what I'll regret, sure, but that's not a useful way to spend my time. If I focus on the future, on everything that's in the possibility space, instead of outside of it, that's probably better for me, yeah? Sure. You don't sound convinced. I'm just ambivalent on it. I try not to think about anything too hard these days. But if you're willing to accept eternal bondage with the council, I can keep you here. It's not easy work though. You have to act in the best interest of the system, not its individual parts. Bureaucracy at its finest. How did you learn to deal with it? It just took some time. When you're used to it, you learn not to think too hard about what you're doing. It's As long as you take a holistic view of everything, things generally shake out alright. We tend to only bother the biggest rule breakers anyway. Maddie being one of them? Ugh, habitually. She wouldn't be getting so much leeway if it weren't for Jay. I don't understand that guy. He's nice, we've chatted a bit, but what makes him so special? He's provided services in the past. I can count on one hand the number of people who know as much about the manipulation of life force as he does. He's been researching it for over 100 years. No way, he's that old? He looks like 60, man. Max. Yep, much older than that. Wild. We're getting sidetracked though. How do you feel about joining the council? I don't hand out offers willy-nilly, you know. I'm interested, but can I have some time to think about it? How much time do you have? You've been out for nearly 25 hours. You're overdue. Put it on Maddie's tab. Ha. Okay. I assume you're not going to stick around forever. Unlikely if the next few hours are anything like how I felt this morning. I'll stick around until you have a solid answer then. Cool. Wanna get drunk? We're already drinking, mate. Che told me something pretty special he's got behind the bar. Unless it's something really special, he's probably offered me some. And even then... So, you've tried the... bottled soul? You pulling my leg? Nope. You've got to be mistaken. Haven't seen it in person, have you? Yeah, actually I have seen it. That's quite illegal. I expected better from him. Damn it. So are we gonna drink it or not? Council regulations require me to confiscate it or force the owner to dispose of it. We'd be doing him a favor then. I suppose... Come on, dude. Chase said it'd knock you flat. When you say you, do you mean me? Or you? Or just anyone who drinks it? Anyone. It's like 200% alcohol or something. It's not technically possible. But I'll admit my interest is piqued. Well, let's not waste any time. Oh, I already had it. Damn it. This was a setup, wasn't it? Basically. You in? Fine. Ooh, this looks deadly. Good thing dead people can't get alcohol poisoning. Hey. Or maybe to bureaucracy. To bureaucracy. Coffee. Checking something real quick. Oh, man. Talking sure is thirsty work. Okay. Yo. Your order's arrived. 3 days late, mate. It got held up by a mutual acquaintance of ours. Ah, shit. That explains why he's in my hair. I'll be there in half an hour. Ooh, what did she get? New reagents? I like that her background is like a bunch of coffee grounds. That's kind of fun. Oh boy, more talking. Oh, maybe I should switch to a game that I don't have to talk as much on. Ooh, robot dance. The catabasis is considered to be a vital part of the hero's narrative. Every hero gets to hell at some point, and in the stories they usually come back, which is the bit that seems weird to me.
I don't think that's how it works in real life. The cafe has a bunch of heroes come through it, claiming that they're going to conquer Hell and come back. But they never returned as far as I saw. The idea of catabasis is that, in the grand scheme of things, Hell or the Underworld or Hades or whatever you call it. Anyway, it's on the other side of wherever we are, like we're trapped inside this sphere, and we leave it to go to Hell. Did the ancient Greeks ever consider that maybe we've been on the outside the whole time, just waiting to get in? Maybe they did. Matter of perspective. I guess I'll ask one sometime if I ever meet one. Perhaps, but perhaps we're just waiting our entire lives for this, to pass through the firmament to the next place. To be driftwood that washes up on the shore of whatever that next place actually is. Seems weird, but maybe that's where we're naturally meant to be. I'm thinking it's possible that this world isn't some sort of proving ground or anything. Maybe it's just a waiting room. A beautiful, flawed, complex waiting room. Personally, I don't think there's anything like heaven or hell waiting for us. No judgment either. Except that there are definitely demons. Excuse me, goodness gracious. Why am I burping so much? Good God, I didn't even drink any soda today. The world doesn't ever operate in binaries or absolutes. That's just flawed human thinking projected onto things that are much, much more complex than they can ever perceive. Okay. And I don't think that's what's waiting on the other side is even something we can conceptualize. I bet it's cool. It's a shame that it's a one-way trip, though. I love the stupid doodles I put on their faces. Those are so dumb. Oof. Oh, goodness gracious. You can now speak to Tuan and Hana to experience the side story, Walking to the Sky. Who and who? Who's the what now? Ooh! Can we go over there? Nope. Nope. Yeah. Damn it, we can't go all the way over there. Funeral. Oh boy, I'm a little bit talked out. So, let me see, how long have you been streaming? I started at like 8:30. It's now 10:30-ish. It's been going a little while. Maybe we'll read one more thing and then we'll hop off for a little while and come back to this later today. Teen Transient. Man, the movement's a little awkward. Okay. Funeral. I've been thinking, said Kashan. Uh-oh, said Maddie. About the people I've left behind, said Kashan. Well, I'm not going to see any of them again. One of them could be about to walk through that door, said Maddie. Don't taunt me with possibilities, said Kashan. You brought it up. Yeah, well, he slumped over in a funk. Death has a real finality to it, you know? Yeah, it does, said Maddie. It's death. Travel from life to death is a very one-way street for all but a few individuals. And if you're standing here, then it's a bit late for chest paddles. What? I guess I'm thinking more about the fact that I'm not going to see any of my old friends again. Not as long as they're alive, anyway. It does tend to be how death works, said Maddie. Hope you're not surprised. Not surprised, said Kashan. But also, I wouldn't have been surprised if that wasn't the case, you know? Like, I'm pretty sure on at least one occasion I've threatened people by saying, I will haunt you, and now that's never going to happen. Pity, said Maddie. You could have been someone's grudge ghost film. Yes, that one's confined to the annals of Japanese horror cinema. Hey, said Kashan, Hey, said Kashan. I was wondering, do you think there's any way for me to see what's going on at my funeral? Don't, said Maddie. Alright, said Kashan. I just thought, you know, it's kind of everyone's fantasy, right? To see what people have to say about them after they passed.
Wouldn't you want to see what was going on at your own funeral?
Well, I think that's none of your business what goes on at your funeral, said Maddie.
Really? Said Kashan. I mean, I think it's pretty common for people to plan their own funerals, at least if they go late enough to see what the hell is that sentence? Go late? At least if they go late. At least if they go late enough to that they can see it coming. I don't understand what they're saying here. You know, I'd like to have my brother deliver a eulogy, or don't let them play any Barry Manilow songs, that sort of thing. Maddie blinked. You have a problem with Barry Manilow? No, I have no particular opinion on the man or his music, said Kashan. But a lot of people who are old enough to be planning their own funeral do. You can make your plans, but whatever unfolds at the funeral is up to those who attend it. Kashan blinked. What about the wishes of the dead? I thought you'd have a bit more sympathy for their interests, considering how often you interact with them. Well, I care plenty about the dead, said Maddie. You were asking about funerals. Funerals are for the living, my friend. Kashan opened his mouth to respond, but cut himself short. I never thought about it that way. I'm not sure what to say. If you're short on words but high on energy, you can expect some of that energy to be carrying this box upstairs, said Maddie, gently kicking a large cardboard box that was resting underneath the counter. There's an alcove next to the bookshelf that would make a good home for this box. Kashan picked up a box, grateful for something to do with his hands. It was heavy enough that he had to make sure to lift it with his legs and not with his back, but not so heavy that he felt out of breath by the time he reached the top of the stairs. His breathing was heavy, but not labored. It was a good feeling. Kashan set the box down at the spot Maddie had designated and sat down for a moment, waiting for his heart rate to return to normal. It felt good to feel his heart beating inside of his chest. This is how it feels to be alive, he thought to himself. Damn, I'm gonna miss it. Ooh, that's sad. Alright, one more. One more. Man, the first person is just really janky. Doesn't feel right that there's no jump button, but I guess it's really not designed to be navigated and just like walked around, so. Teen Transient. More coffee. I should probably drink water after this. A teenage boy approached the counter. Shoulders slumped forward, head down, eyes on the ground up until the moment he looked up to order a drink. He was old enough that he could have passed for a young adult with a better presentation, but the posture coupled with the oversized backpack he was wearing were a dead giveaway. Irrespective of his age, he was still just a kid. Can I get a Coke? An order befitting of a kid. Yeah, I think we can manage that, said Maddie. Think fast, said Che. Maddie turned around just in time to see an aluminum can hurtling towards her. She almost caught it. The can rolled back towards Che, who scooped it off the floor. He hesitated a moment before setting it on the counter. No ice, right? Said Che. The boy nodded. No. Or, yeah. Yes to no ice. Che cracked open the can and poured it into a waiting glass, which he then slid down the counter, pushing it gently enough that it came to rest in front of the teenage boy. The boy grabbed the glass. Thanks, he said. He glanced around the room. If you're looking for a place to sit, there should be plenty of seats upstairs. I think that's probably Maddie speaking, right? Maybe it's Che, who cares? The boy nodded and headed for the stairs, drink in hand. Plenty of seats here, too, said Maddie, turning to Che. Oh, so it was Che who's talking before, okay. Yeah, said Che, but I think upstairs is more Tuan's place. More Tuan's place. Pace, good God. Read, okay. What did you just call him? Tuan, said Che. People have names, There's the problem with having regulars, said Maddie. People expect you to remember the names. Well, now that I think about it, Tuan probably wouldn't mind finding it. Okay, this is Che talking. Though now that I think about it, Tuan probably wouldn't mind finding out that you don't know his name. Can't have your name on Maddie's shit list if she doesn't know it. Should he be on my shit list? Said Maddie. Nah, he's harmless, said Che.
Maybe a bit susceptible to peer pressure, but I think that's why he comes here. To meet with peers. To meet with people who aren't his peers, said Shay. How many glum teenagers do you see around here? Too many, said Maddie. Maybe not enough, said Shay. Please tell me you don't actually mean that, said Maddie. Teenagers have the highest noise-to-spending ratio of any demographic. Not the glum ones, said Shay. And if I were a glum teenager trying to find my place in the world and trying to carve out an identity for myself, I could imagine a worse place to do it than right here. Teenagers can go be glum somewhere else, said Maddie. Whatever happened to proper teenage delinquency? Now be careful what you wish for, said Shay. We've been mercifully delinquent-free for a while now. Proper teen delinquents don't loiter in coffee shops, said Maddie. They set things on fire, spray paint alleyways, and stay out past curfew. Does the city have a curfew for minors? It should, said Maddie. Teens need to be able to break rules, and all the better if committing acts of vandalism at 11 p.m. gives them a 2-for-1. Maybe they should just avoid delinquency. Maybe they should avoid delinquency and just stick to general mischief, said Shay. I don't know. We already have plenty of mischief around here, ever since Ashley set up shop. Got it, said Shay. Next time I see Tuan, I'll tell him he needs to be committing more crimes. What, you'll actually... What do you actually do if he takes your advice? He won't, said Shay. Peer pressure only works if it's from a peer. Someone of my age telling him he'll be cool if he starts swiping liquor won't do much to assure him that becoming a thief is a ticket to popularity and acceptance. So find another teenager and tell him. So find another teenager to tell him. I'll keep my eye out, said Shay. That was kind of funny. I'm disappointed I didn't get to use my nerd voice more. So who the hell is Tuan? Ooh. They look cool. Walking to the sky. Yeah, she's cute. He's funny looking. I guess that's Tuan, right? I'll have to do that side story next time. But for now, I need to rest my voice. I do not quite have the stamina necessary to... talk at that. Goodness gracious. I do not quite have the stamina to talk at that level for that long. So. Oh, excuse me. So I think with that, we're probably going to end for now. I'll probably be streaming later today. Good God. Maybe when I stop, like, burping everywhere. Holy shit. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I will see y'all later. And have a good one.